So it looks like Wei Qian is finally working for this startup company that essentially invested in him, kind of put him to college, paid for his tuition because they really saw potential in him, and they saw that with his set of skills that he would be able to help launch this startup company. So it's good to see that he's finally part of the trio, HOT, but unfortunately it looks like they're having some type of issues with developing this app that they need in order for them to stay afloat. Everyone seems to have a lot in their hands already, stressed out, burnt out, and the tension's high. I totally get it. This is not time to be relaxed because after all, they're a small company. They need to be able to stay afloat and think of things that will help them essentially grow as a company. And because they're still a small company, they need to be able to have the agility to respond to trends and consumer demands in order for them to survive long term. And that just sounds extremely difficult to attain and costly, especially for a company like theirs with very limited resources and experience in the field. So this is an uphill battle. Luckily, Wei Zhi Yuan stepped up and volunteered with his team to kind of take on this really huge responsibility, this huge part of this project, which is the development and production of the app. Ultimately, he's doing this because he wanted to help his brother. So he stepped in, he said, my team could take on this development portion of the project, and this should be able to save you guys a lot of money in the upfront cost. Instead of you guys outsourcing this and paying somebody else to do it, paying a lot of money, why don't we take this on and then we'll go from there. This should be able to save you guys some money. I know Wei Qian is really proud of his brother, even though he may not want to show it, but I'm sure deep inside he's like, yep, that's right, that's my little brother. Wei Zhi Yuan just looks like he's really stepping up and wanting to help his brother provide for their family. He recognized that his brother has worked hard and continues to work hard to provide for their family and to protect them. So in return, he wants to do more than just continue to receive from his brother. He wants to contribute, even if it's not monetary. Unfortunately for Wei Qian, his work ethic and all the physical beating and physical injuries that he's sustained throughout the years from the beating have taken a toll on his health and his body, and he turns out he's sick. He's got pneumonia. Again, Wei Zhi Yuan stepped in and really assumed that caretaker role for his older brother. He knows he needs him more than ever this time around, so he's over here taking him to the hospital, making sure that he's not staying up too late, accompanying him in his room, even sleeping next to him. He doesn't mind doing this, being the caretaker of his brother. I think he even likes doing this. Like, he would rather do this than spend time with his friends, if he even has any. He just really gravitated towards his brother, and his life seems to revolve around his older brother. I mean, I guess it's sweet, and I use that term very loosely in this situation because it seems tricky. So when they were laying in bed and Wei Zhi Yuan was hugging him, you could tell that Wei Qian felt a little uncomfortable and told him to get off of him. But Wei Zhi Yuan was like, you used to do this when I was little, you used to hug me like this. You could tell that he's trying to set boundaries and tries to tell him, get off of me, it's hot, hands off please. And the way Wei Zhi Yuan was looking at Wei Qian was next level. The way he was just looking at him was full of affection, love and care, uncertainty, and even fear, all at the same time. I know it was this very short and simple scene, but just knowing what I know so far and knowing what I think he's feeling towards him, that look just gives me an idea of how Wei Qian might be feeling towards his brother. And then he wakes up with his brother's arm around him in his brother's bed, and I was terrified. I was low-key afraid that he was gonna do something he wasn't supposed to. Like, he turns around and smiles, and I thought he was gonna go for a kiss, and then Wei Qian opens his eyes and in shock and punches him. But luckily it just kind of ended there, so I survived this time around because I know it's coming, but I need more time to prepare. You know it's coming, but because you know them as, I know not by blood, but siblings, and then the relationship transitions into something else. I've never seen it in any BL series before, so I'm like really preparing myself mentally. It's just so fascinating how Wei Qian develops this romantic attraction to his older brother. I know they're not blood, but still, he practically raised him. So for him to be able to see his brother as this caretaker and provider to a potential romantic partner, it is so fascinating. I'm just trying to understand, I guess, the how. heart. Like, how does that happen? Like, what goes on in someone's mind to, I don't know. I guess I'll just find out and wait and see. But anyway, it looks like Wei Qian is planning on sending his brother to abroad to study abroad, and that he's been saving up for this. But I don't know if Wei Zhi Yuan is gonna go for it, because even though he tends to be very obedient to his older brother and pretty much does what he tells him to do, but this one is a little bit different because it would mean that he'd be separated from him, very far away from him for an extended period of time. This is a complete 180 from where he would like to be or what he would like to do. And then it looks like their little sister Lily is all grown up, or at least she's, you know, developing her own wants and needs and developing her own interests, and it looks like she wants to do modeling, and you know, she's dressing a certain way for a modeling gig, but unfortunately the way she dressed that one day reminded Wei Qian of their mother, and obviously that triggered a fight between the siblings, and it's really heartbreaking how much trauma the siblings have endured and have witnessed in the hands of their mom. Their mom just seemed extremely troubled, doing drugs in front of the kids, exposing them to drug use, beating the shit out of them, emotionally abusing them, and even threatening to kill them. That's a lot. And no kids deserve that type of treatment from anybody, let alone from their own mother, from somebody who's supposed to be protecting them. So I'm really still very fascinated and interested to know more about her and how she ended up to this point. You could still see, based on the flashbacks that they're showing us, that she cared about them, but the affection that she was showing just seemed very out of place. And I would assume that the drug use, the substance abuse, and whatever else she was going through affected her way of thinking. I would definitely like to see more of her and how she got there. I also want to know where the dad was. You know, was he present during that time, or was he on the same level as mom? Where was he? Because they've only been showing the mom in their flashbacks, so I want to know where the dad is. But again, the abuse that Wei Qian and Lily endured from their mom has affected them so severely that just a simple thought of their mom triggers a severely negative reaction. Lily does not like to be compared to her mom. That comment he made about comparing her to their mom really offended her, and that's when she said, that's it, like, I'm leaving. And that clearly upset her. So she walks off. Unfortunately, she trips and hurts her knee. And while she was at the bus stop, she comes across this guy who seems to be very opportunistic and offered her a much needed comfort and consoling, and offered to take her to the hospital. So at the time, she was very vulnerable and in need of somebody to do just that. So of course she goes with him and thinks that, because she's very innocent, so she thinks that he was just trying to be helpful and whatnot, but it's very evident that this guy has other intentions, and he definitely looks very sus. Can we talk about Dr. Lin? Dr. Lin, I was not expecting that. I don't know how I didn't recognize him on the preview for this episode, and it took me a while to recognize him in this episode, but when I realized who he was, I loved him in We Best Love, fighting Mr. Second, more specifically in episode 2, even more specifically that scene when he said, hi.
Hi.
That episode, that particular scene, that particular line from him continues to be one of my favorite of all time. That line, that hi, the way he looked up and said hi, the delivery of that hi did something to me. Okay, I don't know what about it. It was maybe because of him, the way he delivered the line, everything about that line and everything that happened after that when they both went to the house, and we all know what happened after. That whole scene still is one of my favorites of all time. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna watch that episode again after this because I miss him. Gao Shida, oh, I miss my Gao Shida. It's so interesting to see him here. I like the new look, the messy long hair and the scrubs and the lab coat and the slippers. That's a complete departure from the way he dressed as Gao Shida in We Best Love. This man can wear a trash bag and I would still think that he's one of the most attractive human beings in the world. So that face, that bone structure, that voice, everything about this man, how can I forget? I hope that this is not his last cameo in this series. I hope to continue to see him in this series because I didn't realize how much I missed him until I saw him. Anyway, I am going overboard with this, but He's not even the main character here, but I'm like talking about him. But I'm just so excited. Anyway, that is it for us today. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your time. Before you go, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to hit that notification bell so you won't miss my next video. Until then, I will see you later.